Hi everyone, welcome to Life Tips by Ning. In today's video, I'm sharing the meaning behind the number 7 hexagram in I Ching called the army. So in connection to the 6th hexagram called conflict, when conflict is not resolved, it escalates to a larger scale. So that's what it leads to the 7th one, the army. So based on the image of this hexagram, we know that the external one is earth and the internal one is water. So we have this image of underground water. So the first meaning is if you have a hole underground, it actually helps collect and gather a large body of water. So that simplifies you're kind of the leader. You lead a large crowd. Either this actually, the Chinese version also means teacher. So you can teach a broad population of children to the right knowledge or skills. Or it can mean you're the leader or general of a big army trying to charge for a common purpose. So that's the enlarged meaning of this 7th hexagram. It means leading a large crowd. But on top of it, there's another layer of meaning because we know the water one, the water trigram typically means danger, risk, being trapped, or running into some sort of negative challenges. So if you have water underground, it's not solid. So you can have landslide, you can have all kinds of potential risk. So another wisdom behind this hexagram meaning that even though you're in this position of leading a lot of people, you might venture into a confrontational situation. You're very responsible in this position to be super careful because regardless of the cause of the war, you think you're on the right side, you have the right reason. The outcome is unavoidably gonna damage lives or causing havoc. So there's like an ingrained risk in terms of venturing into this action. So the first caution for this 7th hexagram, the army, is be extra careful, take precaution, analyze your whole situation before you even decide to take the first step. Because you're venturing into a very risky and kind of a dangerous situation. So once you kind of understand the whole hexagram's context, we can break it down into each line's meaning. So the first one is the initial stage of after you do that cautious evaluation, you decided to go into this highly complex and dangerous situation, right? So the first step is at the beginning, there's nobody who can predict are you going to win or lose. That's too early. But what you're able to do is focus on your attention on choosing the right leader. Because the right leader is able to have the right discipline and order to lead this large population. Like in a real life example, it can be actually a startup or you're hiring a leader for a company operation. That leader is so critical. If you do not initially set the right type of discipline, it can create all kinds of unnecessary chaos and havoc. So even though we land on this line, we don't know the final result. But what we know for sure is if you don't introduce discipline and order as a foundation, using the right leader to implement this structure, without this strong foundation, it's a guaranteed failure. That's the meaning for this one. And we're moving up to the second line. This is the only yang line amongst the entire hexagram. So this is actually, in analogy, the leader, the general leading this crowd. And it has this yang's energy of not only I'm super competent, I know how to discipline, I know how to lead, I know how to set strategy, but more importantly, I have the right morale, I have the right value system, I have the right moral to understand the situation objectively. So I'm not simply advocating for my own biased self-interest. I can look at the entire situation in a very objective way to know when to fight, when not to fight, and make the right call. If you have this type of a quality of a leader, you will have a very positive and fortunate result for whatever you're predicting and asking this question before you land on this one. So this is a very positive one. But moving up to the third line is a yin line. So this is exactly the opposite quality of this strong leader. This is somebody who's very self-interest focused. It doesn't have this bigger picture viewpoint. And in addition, it has this strong desire of greed. I want to achieve certain type of recognition or fame for myself. But deep down, I don't have the competency and the core to back myself up. Well, if you have this person in a powerful position, it's a disaster in the making. So the end result is the reckless, self-interest driven approach will lead to disaster and failure. The description for this line is very vivid. It says, after this war, under this type of a leader, you will come back, return with cartloads of corpse and dead soldiers. So that's pretty scary. So again, it tells you the importance of picking the right type of person in a powerful leadership position. So this is a very negative one. Moving up to the fourth one. So the similarity between the third and fourth line is they're both lacking competency and skills. But the difference is in their mentality. The third line wants to have short-term gain, want to have immediate success, which drives the negative result. But in comparison, this fourth one, I know I'm lacking in skills, and the entire environment is not super favorable to me and the people I'm leading. So in that case, I have a high level of self-awareness. I know when to retreat. I know when to hide and preserve my energy. So because this person is more self-aware and taking a more humble approach, they are able to prevent the big disaster, and in the end kind of having a neutral outcome, meaning I'm minimizing damage because I'm not engaging in this unfavorable fight. So that's a big difference between those two. And honestly, the reason for that different result is their positioning, because this third line is on the outside of the inner triagram. I'm on the outside. I have this urge to move, to venture, to take action. Whereas this fourth line is at the very underneath rudimentary position of this external triagram, meaning I'm more taking a cautious, reserved, less risky approach. So that explains the different situation. And moving to the fifth line, this is a corresponding partner to the second one, right? Because they're both in the middle. So this one is the guy who's giving order to this great leader. So in that case, it says, I only give order to venture into a war situation because my interests got harmed. I'm taking a defense mode. It's not because we're in a peaceful situation that I envy your wealth. I envy your country's land. So I'm the one who provoked the whole fight. Then, because it's not for the right cause, you're bound to lose. But this one is saying that I'm being evaded. I'm only defending my self-interest. So prerequisitely, you're fighting for the right cause. That's why it's in the neutral, leaning more the fortunate result. But it also has a very great call out saying that if you're trying to pick the leader to represent your action, pick this one. Don't pick this one, right? That's pretty obvious. It's saying be very keen on your talent selection process. If you choose the right person, it will bring your whole country positive result. However, if you're dissuaded or blinded by this reckless, incompetent leader, you will bring very, very harmful results. So it's kind of like, it could be good or bad depending on what you do about the leader selection. Last but not least, this is the end of the war. This is all at the completion stage. Because you're in a position of power, you need to be very smart about rewarding the right person. So this guy needs to be rewarded so they can keep on supporting you in future endeavors. But this one, the danger is if you have this kind of a lower moral or lower value system people, some of them are actually really good at white lies. They make themselves look good, but they don't have any substance to back them up. So in that case, you're in a very ultimate position of power. If you're not clear to see through their BS and get blinded by them, that's a danger. Because if you give them power as a reward, they might actually do more harm in the future. They might actually unnecessarily involve your whole company, your whole crowd into kind of unjust fight, simply because they want to advocate for their own self-interest. So that's the caution. Like, be very keen in telling who's a contributor, who's not, who only put up smoke in your face versus who's the really person with merit that made you to this final success, and treat them quite differently. So that's the guidance for the last line. I hope you guys enjoyed the explanation for the 7th hexagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye.